Good morning, everyone. Happy Sunday. I've just picked up and I'm rereading a page. Yesterday morning, Dave and I were lying in bed and I said, just choose a number. Sometimes I do that and I pull out the book that's sitting on my bedside table and we just read a page together and we talk about it. And this was the page that we went to yesterday, or he chose page 63. And I wanted to just go over it with you this morning because I think there's something in it for everybody that you can take away. I was initially just going to share this in my inner circle WhatsApp group, but I thought I'd share it here with all of you because you'll all benefit from it. So it's actually out of this book called Untethered Soul by Michael A. Singer. Great book. Probably one you want to have in your library, particularly if you're in a circle, because I do refer to parts of it from time to time. I teach from this. But anyway, I just want to share a few thoughts here. It's just about letting go. And, not when you have thoughts in your, like you're reacting or you're being triggered by things in your circumstances, you don't have to go with it. Like your point of support can stay within yourself. And that's exactly what this page is saying here. And he just says it so well. I wanted to share it with you. For instance, someone says something and you start to feel the energy get a little strange inside. So have you ever had that feeling where someone says something and you feel the energy get a little strange inside? You will actually start to feel a tightening. This is your cue that it's time to grow. It's not time to defend yourself because you don't want the part of you that you would be defending. If you don't want it, let it go. So often in your circumstances, in your environment, there'll be things going on and you'll want to put your attention there. You'll want to blame it. You'll want to externalize. And the thing is that we don't have to do that. You actually can stay in control of you from within. And your responsibility to yourself is to do that, is to create from within. He says here, you will eventually get conscious enough so that the minute you see the energy starting to get strange, you stop. And you do this to yourself, right? It's not the thing outside you. It's not what's going on outside you. You do it to yourself. You go there, right? You make it the thing. But the second you start to pay attention to this feeling, this energy, you'll stop doing it. Like I've been really practicing this a lot the last month or so, just really with the kids, when they're not listening to me, when I'm getting frustrated. Really stopping myself before I even go down, like noticing my energy about to rise. And for me, it's a peak. My energy rises and I just go, no, I'm not going to go there. Just let it go. And that's what we want you to do. We want you to just, when the energy starts to get strange, when you start to react to something outside you, to stop and let it go. So you'll eventually get conscious enough so that the minute you see the energy starting to get strange, you stop. You stop getting involved in that sort of energy. If it normally causes you to start talking, you stop talking. If it normally causes you to start blaming or deflecting or talking about the problem or talking about the circumstance and it doesn't make you feel good, stop it. Like, just let it go. Good morning, Paula. Great to see you tuned in this morning. Just going through a page out of this book that I'm just picking up and reading this morning. I'm in Brisbane, actually. Had a 60th birthday party last night, so I'm just sitting here in my hotel room at the Westin, just waiting for my breakfast salad to come up. So say hi in the chat. Great to have you on. So you just stop mid-sentence because you know where it will go if you continue. And that's I'm using the example with the kids, but when I've noticed my energy shifting because they're not listening to me, I just stop, go, no, not going there. And that's literally what I'm saying to myself. And you can do that with anything. If there is a situation or an experience in your life that's recurring, that always is drawing you into negative energy or having a negative reaction to something, stop going there, right? Change your perception. Change the way you look at the thing. It's not the thing, it's you. And you have to take personal responsibility for that. The moment you see the energy getting imbalanced inside you, the moment you see the heart starting to tense and get defensive, just stop. That's such an important thing because when we get frustrated or angry or defensive or deflecting, like we're doing that to ourselves. right? That's a conscious choice to embody that energy, to go to that vibration. And we want to stay high. You want to stay high. You want to stay free. You want to stay light. And you want to take responsibility for doing that. So you got to change the way you look at the thing. You've got to go back within yourself. But in the beginning, you just don't let yourself go there. You'd recognize that talking about it that way, looking at it that way, reacting to it that way is lowering how you feel. What exactly does it mean to stop? It's something you do inside. It's called letting go. When you let go, you are falling behind the energy that is trying to pull you into it. And the energy can be strong, and there's patterns of energy, right? The paradigm, the way the paradigm expresses itself in your results, and the habits that you formed in reacting to that energy and following that energy. And it's normal for you to react that way, and it's normal for you to tell yourself those stories or have those opinions and so forth. And so the energy wants you to just follow it. It's normal, it's normal, it's normal. It's where the paradigm is at, it's where the paradigm is at, it's where your self-image is at. But you've got to really start to train yourself and be more disciplined in letting it go, falling in behind the energy. Let's see the energy there, feel the energy there, and fall in behind it. Your energies inside have power. They are very strong, and they draw your awareness into them. If a hammer falls on your toe, all your awareness will focus there. If there's a sudden loud sound again, all your awareness will focus there. Consciousness has the tendency to focus on disturbance, and disturbed energies inside are no exception, right? So when we focus on a disturbed energy inside ourselves, we'll also very quickly find more disturbed energies, or more we attract then ideas, thoughts, perceptions that are in harmony with that energy. All of a sudden you see a problem with your relationship. All of a sudden you see a problem at work. All of a sudden there's this challenge. All of a sudden, the taxi's late. All of a sudden, all of these other things start to kind of aggravate you because you've given attention to that energy. These disturbed energies will draw consciousness to them, and they love it, right? But if you don't let this happen, so what's the whole process of mental attunement and atonement can be summed up in one word? Write it in the chat. Write it in the chat now. Gratitude, right? Type it in the chat. Remind yourself. The simplest way that if you're being drawn in, right, you don't want to let that happen, first of all, just stop. But then tune yourself back to gratitude. Go back to appreciation. Go back to the love that you have for yourself. Go back to feeling good. Because this is where, when we talk about magnetism and we talk about momentum, when we can stay in that higher vibration for longer and not let these lower vibration disturbed energies within us draw our attention, then we're going to become a more powerful creator of the reality that we want, that you want. Does that make sense? Let me know your questions of this on the chat. Say hi if you're here watching, or hashtag replay. The disturbed energies will draw your consciousness to them, but you do not have to let this happen. You have the ability to disengage and fall back behind them. When the energies inside start to move, you do not have to go there. For instance, when your thoughts start, you do not have to go with them. So I want you to notice this. You'll start to have a thought about a person or a situation or a circumstance. You know that thought doesn't serve you well, but it's where your paradigm wants to have you go. It's where your ego wants to have you look. It's where the disturbed energy is, but you do not have to go with them. You can say, that's my old self-image. That's my ego. That's not going to serve me well. I'm going to change my point of view. You don't have to go with that first thought. And the thing is that when we look at it from a brain perspective and a neuro perspective, you've got these neural pathways. So, some neural pathways are very well worn, right? They're very well worn pathways, and so it's very easy to travel on those train tracks. But what we have to do is we have to stop and start to build the new neural pathways, the new thought patterns of what we want. So there's the brain and neuro element to this as well, and that takes energy to do that. It takes effort to do that, especially if it's a new pivot, especially if you've built up a lot of momentum and a lot of energy of thinking about something from one way, or be very emotionally involved in your problems or challenges or a reality that you don't want. It's almost can be all consuming, and you think, I can never not feel like this. How am I ever going to get myself out of this? It's simply because you've got momentum there, and from a neuro perspective, that neural pathway is well worn. So we got to go into this knowing it's going to take a little bit of energy. It's going to take some conscious reasoning faculty to be able to recognize the thought and say, I don't want to go with that thought. I don't want to go with that habitual way of looking at this situation. That story that may be inherent in your old self-image. To take the responsibility and be disciplined enough to say, I'm not going to follow that pathway again. So this is a great example that he gives here, even more than the examples that I've given. Let's say you're outside taking a walk at a car drives by. Your thoughts say, boy, I wish I had that car. You could just keep walking, but instead you're going to get upset. You know, you really want that car, but your salary isn't high enough. You begin thinking about how you can get a raise or a different job. You didn't have to do all of that. It could have just been, here comes the car, there the car goes, here comes the thought, here the thought goes. Right? You didn't have to go down that rabbit warren, go down that tunnel, go down that funnel. You could have just noticed the thought and let it go. So particularly where you've noticed, you know, you have repetition of thoughts that aren't making you feel great or that are lowering your vibration, remember that this is something that's happening within you. It's got nothing to do with the circumstance or the person or anything to do with what's outside of you. It's all within yourself. You can really just start to notice them and let them go. And so you disempower the thought. You demagnetize that thought from the next thought, the next thought, the next thought. Now they're both gone together and you didn't have to go with them. The car came and went, the thought came and went, right? That is what it's called being centered. So in Inner Circle, we look at this around, you know, what is your point of support? Is it on the inside or outside you? Are you self-poised or does your balance depend on something external? According to the position in which we face that question, so will our life be. So we talk about the nucleus. What is the center? What is the nucleus? And that's going to relate back to your C-type goal. So that's going to relate back to that image, that center image that we orientate ourselves to, and we are there. There is a place. Your C-type goal is an image. It is a place. And consciously, we're holding attention from there, right? Being there, being that person, thinking like that person, making decisions like that person, being coached like that person, so forth. And so there is a place. So that is our center. And that's where we want to stay. So we don't want to be in this low vibration or reacting to this thought or judging that situation or making assumptions on that. You just want to stay in your center. If you aren't centered, your consciousness is just following whatever catches its attention. And if you remember back to lesson 5 of Thinking into Results on your mental faculties, this is a really good point because you know, you have sensory faculties, sight, sound, smell, taste, and touch, and you have all of this information flowing at you 24/7, you know, the car noise, the airplane noise, the TV noise, I dropped something on my foot noise, I got an email, like so many things outside you drawing your attention. So if you haven't taken the time to get clear on what you want, build a clear picture of your C-type goal, you know, and then the phase 1 of the program, looking at your self-image, script, and attitude, then it's going to be tricky to be centered with all of the sensory stimulation around you that's going to take your attention. And anywhere there's a little ruffled, disturbed energy, we like to go, right? We get caught up in that. So all throughout the day, you're bouncing from your attention being on something outside you to your attention being on what's inside you. We can manage the things outside of us without them becoming our emotional support base, without them becoming our point of support, that's where our vibration goes. You can have a discipline, a will. We look at this in the 7 levels of awareness. In Inner Circle, the highest level is mastery, where you're completely in control of thinking and feeling and acting in harmony with being one with who you want to be. So you're not constantly reacting to what's outside you or below you in terms of a vibration. You see the car drive by and you're off doing something about it. Another day you see a boat and then it's all about the boat and you forget about the car. There are people that live like that, right? Just whatever is in the next thing that's in front of them, that's where they go, and then the next thing that's in front of them. And they ride these waves and they have no point of support, and you can tell that in their energy, right? You can tell that they're getting emotionally involved in things that are not in harmony with their C-type goal, not in harmony with their self-image. but they haven't so disciplined their conscious mind through their mental faculties to stay in control and think from where they want to be, there is a place. These sort of people, they don't hold jobs very well, and relationships tend to not work out for them. They're just all over their place and their energy is very scattered. So that was just... You have the ability to not go with any of these thoughts. You can just sit in a seat of consciousness and let it go. A thought or emotion emerges, you notice it and it passes by, but because you allow it to. This technique of freeing yourself is done with the understanding that thoughts and emotions are just objects of consciousness. When you see your heart and emotion, your heart start to get anxious, you're obviously aware of this experience. But who is aware? It is the consciousness, the indwelling being, the soul, the self. Anyway, so I hope that you found this. I want you to watch this video a few times over. The first law of learning is repetition. You'll get more and more out of it the more you watch it. And I also want you to think about what I've said and think about perhaps recurring thought patterns, recurring points of view that you go into that really you don't need to go into. Right? You can choose a new thought in response to that. You can use excess. So your thinking, it comes from your reasoning faculty, but you also have perception. And you probably don't use it enough. You're habitually looking at a person or a situation or a thing from a particular point of view. And it's become habit to look at that thing, that situation, that result, that business, that opportunity from a certain point of view. Practice using your perception. Find a better point of view. Find a new point of view. See yourself differently. See what it is from a different perspective. Practice the line. What if this was working out for me? What if I could find a solution to this? What if I could make it work? Because we tend to react habitually. And that takes us into disturbed energies when you can really respond from your higher self and start to create mastery where you think, feel, and act from the feeling that you want, from the self-image that you want, from the thought, feeling, and action that's really in harmony with your C-type goal. So that's it from me today. I'm pretty sure my breakfast is going to be here any second. So have a beautiful Sunday. Let me know how you go with this. As I say, watch it a few times over because... repetition is really important with this, and take the time to really journal and reflect. Just 5-10 minutes, on where this is playing out for you and where you next time can notice the thought and just let it go. Have a great morning, everybody. Bye.